Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen. Welcome to Conversations from Beyond, episode 6. Today, we are answering questions again. We have some questions that came in the comments that were not directed towards our universal beings of light. They were directed directly toward me, but the answers are combined answers from Cindy and I. So that's what we're doing today. I'll let Cindy introduce herself, and then I'll get into the question.
Hi, Cindy here. I'm also known as Lady of the Forest 444 on my other YouTube channel. And yeah, hi, Janet. I know these questions came from you.
Cool. Okay, so I'm reading them again from my phone. I have a screenshot of the questions. I lost it. Sorry. Colleen, I have a question about your light friend and her name, Big Birtha. Did she present that name to you or tell you to name her whatever you wanted to name her? It makes me wonder if Birtha has a really good sense of humor. Does she? Colleen, you also mentioned in the first video that you and Cindy met and found you had both just read the same book. You developed a friendship over discussing the book. As a 40-year reader of spiritual books, would you mind sharing which book it was? And then she also says, Colleen, you said you also get messages. Who do you get yours from? And yes, that's from Janet in Tennessee. So thanks, Janet. We're going to go out of order a little bit with the questions and start by talking about the book that we read. So it was the book that set me on my path. A friend gave it to me, and it was The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. And Cindy and I were just chatting over, we met because we were in a baby and mommy group, and just both mentioned this book and how really mind expanding the information had been. And actually I ended up devouring the whole series. I think you did too.
Oh yeah, I've got it on my shelves behind me. It was one of the books that I wanted to keep. I had actually given them away. I lent them to people and never got them back. And so I recently went back out and repurchased them all because I wanted to have them in my personal library.
Oh, cool. I haven't done that yet. I gave mine away too.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, what I loved about this book, because I was already somewhat, I mean, you know, our awakening journeys, they're long journeys and it takes a long time, and it's levels and levels and spirals of awakening. So I was already on my spiritual journey and just aware of certain things. But what this book did for me was it started to give me the language to explain what I believed, because like no religion out there coincided with what I believed, what I believed. And, you know, back in the 80s and early 90s, I didn't know anybody else that believed what I believed. And so reading this book, it gave me language to explain how I felt about the world and the universe and our spiritual beingness, and talking about energy. And yeah, so it was huge for me.
Yeah, same for me. I was on a quest I grew up with formal religion, but I thought it wasn't right for me. It just didn't resonate right for me. Not quite right. I knew there was something out there, but I didn't know what. And reading that book gave me language as well, and gave me that concept that I had been feeling about energy, about the interconnectedness of energy and our interconnectedness. And yeah, so after that, like I said, I read the whole series of books, and then we both went on a quest of just devouring spiritual information and different series of books. Because I don't want to only mention one, like that was definitely the one that set me on my path. But over the years, we're talking 27, 30 years here, I've read tons of material that we've discussed between us, Cindy, and has influenced and helped to hone my belief system. And just we always talk about how spirit layers on information to us and gives it to us in bits. And then I guess it's like scaffolding that you talk about in education theory. Scaffold the information. And so there was, I don't really know the order that I read them in, but there was the Cryon series. Remember reading all the Cryon books?
Yeah.
And
those I'm sad because I had a whole bunch of those and I gave them to other people and I don't have any of them back again. But
those ones I still have.
Oh, really?
I have almost the whole series on my bookshelves.
Oh,
We'd have such a library together.
I miss my Cryon.
Put our library together. Yeah, I actually
I
was thinking,
loved the parables, the crown parables, and the mud, the tar sticking to you, and then it not sticking to you, and everybody going, "Hey, how come the tar doesn't stick to you?" Yeah,
yeah.
I loved them.
And it's cool because I was actually thinking about reading the Cryon books again because I'd be reading them from such a different mind
Yeah.
now with all of the information. And I think when you go back and like the TARS, what you just said has to do with karma and light and clearing my channel, as I call it, and stuff like that. I just decided I'm going to read them again.
Well,
I
I
gotta
might
go.
have to buy them again and get them back in my
There you
library so
go.
I
You can
can
borrow
read.
mine, but you have to give them back. I
And the
tend to,
other, oh,
no, go ahead.
the other one from that time was Steve Rother in the group,
Yes.
and that was, yeah. And so he had a website. So that was the first one I remember, because I don't remember visiting a Cryon web. Well, I guess I must have, because I ordered the books, but I don't remember the Cryon website so much. Steve Rother, he was the first one where I'd heard the term light worker, and he had it on like the header of his web page said, "Are you a light worker?" And I was like, "What is that? Oh my goodness!" And so I started, you know, devouring his material too, and somebody actually brought him here to our city. I
Yes.
remember when my son, so my son's 25, when my son was like a year old, he was, or was I pregnant? Anyway, my son was either just born or I was pregnant with him. Yeah. So I met Steve Roderick here when he came here back then. So you're talking 25 years ago. And a friend of mine had given me an audio cassette of a channeling that he had done from his group. And yeah, like I had to wrap my head around, like, what is channeling? Like, it was so crazy 25 years ago for
I
me.
know.
This was my first experience with it. It was nuts. And so I had this audio cassette, and I didn't know, I didn't want to play it in the house with my husband and the kids here. And so I remember one time, like on my, your time off, which when you have young kids is often to go grocery shopping. But I took an hour and I went for a drive. My husband watched the kids, and I popped the audio cassette into my car. And I remember driving out along country roads and listening to this channeling and just being like, I thought it was the craziest thing. I had never heard of anything
Yes,
like this.
me too.
And it was just like, oh, I don't know about this. But
Yeah.
but at the same time, had to listen and had to devour more of it. But yeah, so and then wow.
And the thing is, the information in the channeling, like same with Cryon. And then I think next for me, again, I don't have the chronology, but another one I came across around the same time or a little later was the Abraham Hicks
Yeah.
channeling. And that one, I remember when I would listen to the channels or read them. I don't know how I got this information back then because there wasn't the same internet.
No.
Like the Cryon books, I walked to the bookstore and bought the Cryon books, each book as I progressed. But anyway, it was the information in them was really relevant, and I was devouring it, but I had to just skip over the channeling part. Like, I just couldn't. Like that's just too weird. And now here we are, both. Well, you're fully channeling. We both are, but
Yes.
it's so nothing to me now to be like, oh yeah.
Well, exactly. And like I completely understand that everybody has that, we're all doing this all the time. But
yes, but I just skipped over the part where they said they were channeling.
Yes.
And because I wanted the information that was in it, and I just kind of pretended that they were just writing it. But like, where were they getting it?
Oh yeah.
They were channeling it. So
Yeah.
then I moved into Abraham Hicks, which I was talking in one of our previous videos about my big interest in law of attraction and creating your reality and manifesting things and that. And a lot of the information, a lot of that came from me following Abraham Hicks, the teachings of them.
Yeah.
And I guess it's, it used to be Esther and Jerry. It's Esther now, channeling a group that called Abraham, right? Yeah. And so the law of attraction stuff took me to now another level because in their teachings, like the way to get better at manifesting things was to raise your vibration.
Yes.
And so I got really into vibration and what is going, there's a term that I still use to this day, right? That she used, anyway, Abraham.
Yeah.
Nothing is more important than you feel good.
Yeah.
And like, that's not really what we're taught. You know, we're taught that it's selfish and it's bad to be selfish. It's bad to look after yourself first and things like that. But that really brought home for me that a big part of the point here is to raise our vibration and clear our energy and things like that. And so then that set me on a quest of finding ways to do that and what that meant, and really monitoring how I was feeling inside and the things that worked for me to raise that, right? Or to clear it. And it's true that as I have gotten better and better at that and put more and more priority on that, I've become better at creating like tangible things, but then just also, you know, a better life, a better how my day goes sort of thing. And how things turn out, like it could be a meeting, a job, like anything, a conversation, how it turns out based on how you're anticipating that it's going to turn out because your expectations. But then that came from Celestine too. Like it's so intertwined, right? That your expectations.
Exactly. They were all talking about the same thing in different ways. And even with that, like with Esther saying, or Abraham saying that nothing is more important than I feel good. Like that's the love energy, right? That's how, so my angels talk about that all around love energy and things like that. And I just wanted to note too, that the reason that this audio recording was so wild for me was because back then the internet didn't have videos. We didn't have the bandwidth. We were on dial-up, right? So there's no videos on the internet, which people nowadays would be like, there was no videos on the internet. And what was the internet? The internet was all print. It was all, you know, stories. And so they would put these channelings on their websites, but it was all written. And so, like you said, you could kind of skip over the idea that they were channeling this information and just read it. And I remember I had a dot matrix printer back then, and I would print up like page because I didn't have time to sit in front of the computer. We had two babies, I had 2 kids. So I would print it all on my dot matrix computer, and it would go for like an hour.
Yes.
In the basement printing. And my husband would be like, what are you printing? I'm like, nothing. I'm just printing messages that I'm going to read later tonight. So that's what I read, because there were books, but like this was hot off the presses, right? It was on the internet.
Yes.
I would read all of these channelings at night. But then when I got that audio recording, that was creepy because now I'm listening to him. That was the first time I listened to somebody channeling a message. So the internet was different back then.
It was. And I too wanted to print things from the internet because I felt like books that had already been printed, like there was age in there, like it was older information. I wanted stuff that was channeled yesterday, you know? Yes. Karen Bishop too, right? Like that, what was that called?
Yes.
What's Up on Planet Earth?
Yes.
And that was all written stuff. And those are the ones I used to print out.
I loved her
later.
Yes.
Yeah. And hers was a lot about, well, stuff we're talking about now, about ascension and, you know, the curtain rising, stuff like that, and how to get ready for it. And
I loved her
changes. Yeah. There's been so much.
I know. Yeah.
That has just gradually over years and years and years changed my whole life, changed the way I live my life, the way I monitor what's going on inside of me. And you remember, I guess it was from Abraham Hicks. We referred to it as kind of like a thought monitoring program that we had installed in our brains, that where I used to, before all of this, you know, you just plowed through life, like careening from thing to thing and not really paying attention to my reactions or my thoughts or what I was expecting, or I guess what I'm talking about is mindfulness, really.
Becoming the observer.
Yeah. And I remember us having a discussion about saying that there had become this, I'm thinking about a computer program, like this thought monitoring program that happened that I would catch, like, oh, wait, no, what are you saying there? Or that's pretty negative, or you're expecting something negative. And there was something from one of those where you would go delete, delete, delete. And you would just delete those thoughts and replace it. Like I would literally replace it with a new sentence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. More positive spin on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
And
that,
I loved Abraham Hicks for that, like the rungs on the ladder. I loved that. Like that was
yeah,
very powerful, right? That sometimes when you're in despair, you can't reach for hope. There are too many steps in between. And so that was the first time I learned that there are steps in between. And so you have to reach from despair to whatever is just above despair.
yeah, you can't go from despair to joy. You know, you have to come up. I think that was in The Astonishing Power of Your Emotions. I have that book still.
Okay, yeah.
And it was an actual chart. And I would get that chart. Like that book is all dog-eared because I would get that chart out sometimes and look, because it would have the next higher rung of like mood or mindset or whatever. And it would have sort of prompts for sentences you could say to bring yourself to the next one. And I used that a lot as I go through the things that we go through in life, you know?
Yeah.
I became very focused on monitoring my vibration, monitoring my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think what that led to, that's kind of how I would call it now, is working through karma and clearing my channel and making sure that like getting as good as I can. And I have a life. I don't spend all day with just pure love energy flowing through me. I live in the world and with people around me, and, you know, things happen to you all day long that we now know they're there for a reason.
Yes.
And they hone my ability to sort of control or monitor and fix what's going on in my vibration so that I'm always trying to keep it as high as possible to then attract the highest possible outcome, sort of thing. We now know by flowing love energy.
Yes.
And I do that very consciously now. When something goes on, just had something personal go on in the last couple of weeks in my life that brought on sadness and negative feelings and things like that, and stress. And so, but I made a point, even though I was dealing with this and helping people with this and that, of as soon as I would get home and get a minute to myself. I mean, for me, it's going for a walk in nature really helps me. So I would just head out right away, no matter what. Even if I didn't feel like it and I was too tired, I would just head out into nature and go for a walk, right? Because that is a joyful place for me. And I could just, same thing, like I'm just coming up a rung because everything's still going on. I'm just affecting the way that I am feeling while I'm handling the normal stuff that's going on in life.
Exactly.
That also was bringing me to clearing some karma, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
And so it's easier to work through clearing that karma, which again, we're talking about. You want to explain it? What karma?
Yeah. So karma, the way my angels talk about karma is they don't talk about punishment or reward. They said that that's something we create on earth. So that can happen if that's what you believe, but it also means that you don't have to create that if you don't want to. When they talk about karma, they're talking just about the experiences that we signed up to have on earth, and that we need to complete those. And if they weren't completed and healed from a past life, then we need to complete and heal that now. And that is a lot of what's going on right now. We're not only dealing with what we've lived through in this lifetime, but we are also clearing and healing a lot of our past life karma, which is why things are intense.
So, like, again, I don't know what book or website it came from, the term feeling is healing. And you've used that term as well in your videos.
Yeah.
So the idea is feeling is healing. So as I'm going through some kind of emotions for something that's going on, by processing them and feeling them, I'm clearing that karma. Like, instead of stuffing it and going off and doing something to distract myself from it or to make it go away and not really resolving it. I'm not talking about getting into like deep rumination about the thing that's going on. I'm just talking about feeling the feelings.
Yeah.
And
not
now, sorry?
Not stuffing them.
Yeah.
Letting them come up. Yeah.
Or avoiding them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with the mindfulness and the thought monitoring, I'm able to more quickly process that. When something does come up that has feelings, I'm like, okay, fine. And I spend some time on my own feeling them and recognizing the feelings. And I don't have to analyze what the karma's from or what it has to do with or anything.
Nope.
It's just a matter of letting those feelings flow through me, because once I've felt them, they can go away into the wherever they go.
Yes.
That energy or that karma. And I'm able to keep myself on an even keel though, and not get all mired into the feelings.
Yes.
Because when that's what happens, is then you drop down and get all mired into whatever those feelings are. And, now we're on a lower vibration and creating something that might have to do negatively with the thing that we're feeling. So I just work through sort of telling myself it's okay. Like it's not even really related to what's happening right now. Like just feel it.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid to feel those feelings because we think they're never going to end.
Yes.
But the more I do that and just let it happen and let the feelings be in me, I notice that they go faster. Like they clear faster and become less intense. And then we know that, talking about clearing karma, that then I consciously ask to fill that space with love and light energy, to sort of clear my channel. And it's always about clearing my channel.
Yeah. The energy right now also is much more supportive of that happening faster.
Yes.
When we started this, right, 25 years ago, like you talked about, trying to maintain that mindfulness, trying to just always be aware of our thoughts and what programs are running in the background. Like that was really hard 25 years ago. Like I would do it for a few days and then a year would go by and I'd be like, oh yeah, I haven't been doing that. I forgot.
Yeah.
And then, but over time I got better and better and better at it. And now I'm pretty good at it. Like we catch ourselves right away, Does it mean I never go into my stuff? No, I do go into my stuff, but I catch it. And then, like you say, I still have to feel it and release it and all that, but I'm aware. It's pretty rare now that I go into something and I'm not aware that I'm in something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
it can happen, but it only happens for a minute.
Exactly. It might just happen for a little bit at the beginning and then I go, oh, wait a second. Okay. Yeah. I'm in it. Here we go. And then, but once you step into that observer role and everything, it's a lot better. But I think I don't remember what the questions were.
Yeah. Well, I'm leading over to,
okay.
Leading into, at least for me, this is leading into how I channel.
Okay.
Like, and where I get messages from, right? Because on that note of what you were just saying, the love energy is also stronger now. The light energy that's coming into Earth, love and light energy are like interchangeable terms. The energy that's coming into Earth is stronger and there's a bigger stream of it. We've learned that from your videos that you make on your other channel and from all kinds of sources. And so I think that's helping us too, where it was more of a trickle 30 years ago. Yeah. So there wasn't as much flowing into us to help us with that. So yeah, to bring it along to the rest of Janet's questions. So as I have, managed to keep my vibration higher and made it more of a project and then also been much more successful at it, I notice, and I call it clearing my channel. I'm kind of thinking of like clearing things out of my aura that don't serve me, or out of my, I don't know, I've got this core of light idea that, that is me, and sort of clearing dirt out of it. As I clear that more, I notice that the guidance that I receive from wherever it's coming, my guides, comes more readily. So 30 years ago, I was following my intuition, right? And following my gut. And I used to call it following my little voice too. And it might be as much as small as don't forget your keys as I'm walking out the door, you know what I mean? Or it could be big life-changing tips on how to proceed for take that job, don't take that job, like whatever.
Yeah.
So back then, it was not as strong and it was not as clear. And I had a lot of doubt that it wasn't just coming from me, like from my brain, my thoughts. And then gradually over the years, lots through talking to you, I've come to trust that more. Yeah. So she was asking who I receive messages from, Janet was asking, but that ties in as well with how I receive them. So I didn't find out who I was receiving messages from until 6 months ago. And like, we're not there in the timeline of what I'm talking about yet. But how I receive messages has been a bit of a conundrum for me over the years, right? And that's because I receive just like some people call it a download or a knowing. They're just talking to me, and I don't hear it. And that's been I just know it. And that's been part of, there's been a lot of imposter syndrome in my life.
Yeah.
Of like not believing that I was channeling. I mean, I know people, well, Cindy, well, you are channeling, but Cindy uses her pendulum to get messages. And well, years ago, you used to do tarot cards with us too, like when we would get together,
Yeah,
pull some
when I
tarot
was
cards.
sort of, I dabbled in a whole bunch of different modalities.
Yeah. And I've met people who are psychic and can actually hear things, and people who, we watch people who do tarot card readings, and like Sand Tarot that says that the images just turn into movies. I'm looking down because she's always looking down at the cards, and they turn into movies for her. And then another tarot that I follow, Cindy, Awakening from Spirit.
Yeah.
She says that she's hearing it. So while she's reading tarot and by the book of what the tarot cards mean, but she's also hearing messages. I don't hear them. I don't see visions. I don't have a pendulum that moves. And so there's been a lot of self-doubt to just believe that this is somebody or whatever spirit talking to me. But as I have cleared my channel more and followed the guidance, like the more I follow it, the stronger it gets. And then I can recognize that that's what's going on, that I'm getting a lot of guidance. I mean, how many times have I said to you, Cindy, like, well, no, there's really nothing going on for me lately. I'm not really getting much guidance and stuff. And then our conversation will continue, and I'll tell you these like big, astounding things that I got as information of, of how something works or what I should be doing or whatever.
I know. And then I'm like, yeah, you're not getting anything, Colleen.
Oh. So it's been a bit for me to believe. Oh, go ahead.
But share how you deciphered where it's coming to you from.
Yeah.
Because that was really powerful, I felt. That was
so this we're coming right up to like the last 6 or maybe year or so now. But anyway, I've been trying to observe what's the difference between knowing whether it's my thoughts or whether it's coming from the other side, from my guides. And it comes from back here. It comes from, I don't know, like it's energy. So I don't know exactly where. It's not like I can feel it, but it's coming from behind me. And I wonder if that's my crown chakra, right? Like I know I usually go like that for my crown chakra, but it just seems to be coming in from back
you said
here.
It was kind of like a cone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did.
Back of your head.
Yes.
Like, how our heads are shaped like that? Like, that it was like a cone from back there.
Yeah, like this receiving cone coming out, and then it's coming in through there, where when I'm observing that it's just my thoughts, it's like, I don't know, like inside of in the front and inside of my head,
Yeah.
So
to me, that was really interesting, because when I'm using my pendulum, I tilt my head down to look at my pendulum, and basically I've got this big receiver sitting right here, this big cone in it. So I thought that was really cool that's what you felt.
Yeah. So maybe the receiver isn't, as I've always pictured it, is
right up here
of my head. Maybe it's kind of, my crown. I got a double crown.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? In my hair, your crown is where all your hair swirls together. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where your hair swirls together. You obviously had a different revelation.
Yeah, I did.
But you get it? Like, actually, so this whole spiral thing has always been really significant to me for some reason. It has something to do with energy coming in and spirituality. And I'm just thinking like, well, actually, there's a swirl on the back of my head right about where I'm pointing to.
Okay.
And it's where the open, what's it called on a baby?
I think that's right on the top.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's
I got a flat spot right back here. Okay. What was your...
My moment was, it's right where Jewish people wear, and I don't know the proper term, so I'm not even going to try.
Yes, I've got it.
Where they wear their head coverings.
Yes, you're right.
And a lot of religions use head coverings because the head is sacred, right? And stuff. But that one in particular is right in that spot.
There's something with this spot. So that's where now I've just this is ongoing, like right now. This is more and more profound, I guess, that I'm paying attention to what's coming in from back there. And just in the last like 2 weeks, we haven't got to Big Birtha yet, and that's going to make me jump back another 6 months on the timeline, but they have started, because now I'm believing it, right?
Yes,
I'm based
yes,
on,
much
I'm,
more,
bel-
yes,
I'm
yes.
believing it, that this is coming in as actual channels coming into me, and some information, right? Like actual new information about Lemurian, about the 12 homes and things like that. It's coming in. I'm getting it. New information.
Yeah.
And they've had me, like, I'm scared to even say it. All this stuff that we're talking about, like a bunch of stuff I'm telling you is stuff I really only ever talked to Cindy about.
Yes.
And one other friend that I have, Tracy, that I do talk pretty openly with, but I don't really want to put all this stuff yet. So they've had me live channeling out loud. So I sit on my balcony because it's my magic balcony. A lot of things happen for me on my balcony. And of course, I'm outside, which is where I love to be, right? And that's where I connect with my guides. And they've had me practice saying it out loud, because usually I'm just sitting and listening to it, right, silently. I'm all by myself on the balcony. I'm just listening. But they've had me like practice as if I was live channeling out loud, and said that maybe eventually I'm going to do that on videos. So, as you can see, this is really new. So I'm not.
And I understand that fear, that terror, very well.
Yes, for sure. I saw that when you started your TikTok and YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So Big Birtha. So now we're going to back up 6 months again. So all these years, like probably all my life, right? But really in the last 25 years or so, I've been following this guidance. I've been getting this downloads of information and even tips like grab your keys. But I never had any sort of identification of who that was. I just called it spirit or them or whatever. So if you watched our first video, we talked about Cindy and I, when we get together and have these great conversations about spirituality. In the last couple of years, Cindy started bringing her pendulum, and she will get messages for us as well after we've chatted for a while. And it used to be always her angels that were coming in and commenting on what we talk about and giving us new information and all kinds of cool stuff. But 6 months ago or so, my guides started coming in through Cindy and like introducing themselves to me. And there have been several that have come in, but the main one that has come in that I have connected with is Big Birtha. So I'm grabbing my phone again because I'm going to have to read something in a second. So Cindy was just getting us the message, right, from her angels. And then the pendulum stopped and went still. And she's like, okay, somebody else is here. And they said, I am Colleen's guide. And she said, my name is, and sometimes Cindy just channels and her pendulum helps her, right? But sometimes they spell things if she's not getting whatever the word is or whatever they need to say. So she started spelling because the name just didn't come. And she said, this is B-I-R Birtha. And we both laughed because that'll happen, right? You'll do a few letters and then you'll get the whole word. We both laughed because the name Birtha has a funny reference for both of us from like way before we knew each other. Yeah. And it's kind of a little bit like, apologies if there's anybody named Birtha watching this. Here, it's a kind of an older name. You know what I mean? Like it's not a common name right now. So we both chuckled. We have recordings of these, and I've listened to this one several times because it's when I met Birtha. And so we laughed. And then Birtha said, I laugh, you laugh, I laugh, we all laugh. And that is a very good thing. Yes. I even like being called Big Birtha. Yes. Yeah. And then she said, you will know more about my name very soon. And then she went on to talk about how she and I have been together we grew up together in our home place, and we did our schooling or whatever you do in the home place. Anyway, we grew up together and learned together and trained together. And she said we were closer than identical twin sisters.
Yeah.
And that she has been with me through all of my lifetimes on Earth. She's like my main guide. And she said that she is the one that is giving me most of the downloads that I receive. That's where I'm getting the information from. So I looked up that night, like right away.
Because it's Birtha with an I too, not
Yeah.
with an E. She spelt it like birth.
B-I, yeah, exactly. And then, okay, wait. And then in video 3, Birtha came through and said that she and I come from the home where that holds all of the love energy or light energy, right? Same thing, in all that is, not controls it. It's like a storage. The image I got was a storage tank, right? Where all of the light or love is stored. And so that we carry, I guess, because we're in proximity to that, right? So we carry a very strong light, and people, by connecting with us, access it without us even, I don't have to do anything conscious to send it. And I actually got downloads about that a couple of years ago when I was doing the same thing again of like, what is my modality? Like, I don't do tarot cards. What do I do? And back then I was told, like, just walk around. Like, you just walk around and you're just spreading light as you talk to people and stuff. And I took that, but only sort of, right, Cindy?
Yeah.
Like, I believed it, but there's always been a credibility issue for me. So Birtha, so I looked up, like, when I'm looking up the meaning of something, like an animal crosses my path and I want to look up the spiritual meaning of it or of a word or something, I just put it in a search and read the first thing that comes up. And so Birtha, B-I-R-T-H-A, is I'm reading from the screenshot, is a variation of B-E-R-T-H-A, but which actually comes from the German B-E-R-C-H-T-A. But anyway, it means shining, famous, the bright one. So that only came together like a couple videos ago when Birtha talked about where we're from. So Birtha is my guide. I have lots of guides, and I have other ones that have come through when we're getting messages with Cindy. But Big Birtha is my main guide, and she is the one that has been giving me messages all this time. And she is the one that is telling me that we're gonna live channel together. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Something came recently, Cindy, and you and I were just talking about this, about half. What did you say?
Half souls.
Half souls.
Yes. So that's been coming through in a lot of my private readings as well, that just about everyone on Earth has a half soul. So everyone, so that would mean, I would say, anyway, at our homes, they talk about it as half souls are two sparks of the same energy. And that the other way they describe it is that they are two sides of the same coin. So they are different, yet they are one. And so that's what your half soul is. It's like you're different, just like the two sides of the coin, they're different, but it's the same energy. It's the same thing. And so that's what your half soul is. And we all, just about everyone on Earth, I don't know who wouldn't be, but just about everyone has a half soul.
Yeah. And so we asked, after Cindy told me that, we asked.
And they are your main guiding angel.
Yeah. And so Big Birtha and I, how do I say it? Big Birtha and I are half souls.
Yeah.
To each other, whatever.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's what people think of, like where the whole twin soul came from.
Yes. Soul twins. Yes.
Except that people turn the twin flame, like that they turn the twin flame into a romantic thing. And that's not what this is. And my angels very specifically did not use that term and do not use that term. But I wonder if it's the same thing.
Yes.
We've put other.
Everything goes through filters and yeah, exactly. And kind of maybe how we want it to be, or
exactly
don't understand something. We try and make up try and get it into something that we can understand.
Well, because for a lot of us too, love it's hard to like it's always romantic, you know, it gets wrapped
Yeah.
up in romance, but it's so much more than that.
Well, I even had you the one I've always called it light energy and sending light and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's through your angels and through your messages that you started talking about love energy. And I even had a hard time with it at first. Like now I definitely call it love energy. I understand. I've embodied it. I
Yeah.
bring it in. I send it out. The whole thing. But just like channeling, at first I was like, okay, love energy. I don't love everybody, but sure, we'll call it love energy. But it's not about romance, you know.
Exactly, it's not. So yeah, I think
So
that
this
that's what half so.
the this whole discussion like brings me to what we talked about and how this channel came to be and what we talked about in our first video, Cindy, of how tied together our journeys have been,
Yeah.
you and me, and how much we've helped each other and spurred each other on and help each other to clarify thoughts just in having these discussions and things like that and validated each other. And so a big part for me, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and how close, I mean, we do veer off from one another on certain topics, but we're pretty close in how we view our spirituality. Like it's more close than anybody else that I've ever met with, you know? So that, and I'm extremely grateful for that, especially now because I hear from so many people that they literally have no one around them.
I
And
know.
that breaks my heart because
I know.
I've had you for all these years and I'm so grateful for that.
And we've used this term forever where we go like, only you, Cindy,
Yeah, exactly.
only you. And that means only you would ever understand this or back me up on this or corroborate this. The most out there, like we just kind of, I don't follow any documented spirituality or religion, or I don't even follow everything, like all the books that we named and websites and everything.
Pieces.
I've just taken pieces from all of it and I just kind of made my own concept of how it all works. And the most out there moments of that are the times when if I mention something, you have gone, yeah, you know, like, yeah, that's what I think too. And so it has really helped us both. And then the most out there, you know, like telling you, suggesting that you start your TikTok and YouTube was something that came from probably Big Bertha, right?
Well, it came from somewhere because you pushed hard and I was like, I was very resistant, but because you pushed so hard, it made me look at it.
I
'Cause I
kind
was
of
like,
raised my
that's not
voice
normal.
one
She
day.
doesn't normally push that hard.
Kind of raised my voice one day when we were on a walk.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
It's okay. I apologize later. And here we are on this channel because you started the other channel. But like just stuff like that, like just listening to guidance and me falling like, why would you push someone to start a TikTok and YouTube channel doing something that, and she's like, well, what am I going to do on there? I'm like, I don't know. But
I don't have the answers. Just
no,
do it.
you're going to get messages. It's something to do with your pendulum. Like, I don't know, but just open an account. And it turned into this amazing thing. So, yeah, so thank you. And that's kind of why we've started this, because we share so much. I don't even know what to call it. Symbiosis. Like we just,
Yeah, and just supporting each
on.
other and nudging each other and you know, getting those messages for each other, saying, you know, I feel
and talking things out and helping each other. That we kind of want to bring that to you. And then of course there's the whole thing where the universal beings of light said that they wanted to be our guests, but it was to have both of us. And they said that there was like a magical energy that comes out of our combined energies.
Because we're different. And so it's about bringing different viewpoints together to see a new perspective.
Yeah. So I think we covered everything in Janet's questions.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for listening, everyone. And yeah, we'll be here for you with future episodes, bringing you our conversations with our universal beings of light and our takes on it between the two of us as well. So thanks very much for joining us.
And thanks for your questions. And thank you, Janet. It was lovely meeting you. And thank you for your questions.
See you soon.
Bye.